Yes, friends, happy 4th and hope everybody's enjoying the warm weather. Today, I thought that the best thing to really do would be to actually analyze what's going on in the world and how does that impact our daily lives and our business. And then how could we summarize this whole drama which is unfolding in front of us, which is very difficult to comprehend. One day we hear we are having an MOU with Iran, and the other day we hear that we are not. One day we are saying that we're gonna bomb, and we're gonna, the other day we're saying that we are very close to the end of the war. And then there are many people who are actually waiting to see that everything calms down. So oil prices really stabilize and interest rate stabilize, and hence everything goes to normal. But you know what? Some people think chaos is the way to govern and way to manage. So, how do we really summarize today's discussion or today's situation? I would say honestly, this whole thing could be summarized in one word or one phrase. And what is that phrase? That is BATNA. BATNA. Better alternate than negotiable agreement. BATNA. And we use BATNA, are we supposed to use BATNA every day in our life, in every situation? Or we should at least train our brain to think that way, and that would really help us simplify things and analyze things if we really have that mindset behind the scene. We don't have to say what our BATNA is, but we really need to understand. And once you create that whole thought process, then you will see that you will analyze the situation in much better way with a bigger perspective, and you will always know what my alternates are. So that you will train yourself, and your life and your business transactions will become smoother, and your even relationship will become smoother. How's that? So I think if I really say what is today's topic is understanding your BATNA, BATNA, understanding your better alternate than negotiable agreement. See, every day in life, we actually are doing some sort of negotiation, whether that we are interacting with our spouses, whether that we are interacting with our family members, with our kids, our friends, our going to the market, or having any business transaction. We are in some sort of an understanding. Are we creating an understanding to move forward, whether that we have to go for travel, or whether we have to go for leisure, or we have to go for business, or whether we have to do anything. There is always BATNA involved. And if we really understand BATNA, then we can understand what's going on really in Trump's life, in our lives, and how which direction our business is going. So, what is BATNA? BATNA is better alternate than negotiable agreement, like I said before. But what does it mean? It means that whenever you are doing any transaction, whether it's big or small, or any decision, you always look at your alternates and you say, what is my alternate other than the negotiable, the agreeable uh, understanding I'm having right now? Let's suppose you are going to a leisure trip, and you look at different destinations, and then you see what the costs are, and you see what how much money you have, and then how much you can spend, and and what are your other needs. And then you for example, you see that you only have $1,000 to spend, and you want to have a beautiful place where you can enjoy with your spouse for a week. And you wish to go to Europe, you wish to go to California, you wish to go to Florida, you wish to go to somewhere where you can enjoy your life, and you can enjoy the nature, and you can have some quiet time. Okay, so that's the purpose. Now the purpose in mind, then you gotta see what are your alternates with your given $1,000. And now, if you have all these alternates, and all those alternates have ramifications, travel plans, some stresses, some outcomes, and of course some expenses. So you see your alternates, and then you analyze your alternates, and then you also have one basic alternate, and that is not going anywhere. Not having a contract is also is a contract as well. That's an implied contract. So you have to see whether one of those alternates are good, or if this is your between your spouse and you, or with your friends, or with your other party. If you have this understanding that this is what you need to do, and then you see what expenses you can afford and what you have versus what ledger you're going to have, versus, you know, what is your alternate, your back end plan. If you don't do this, what will you do? So sometime you end up going to maybe just, 100 miles away, because that's what all you can spend, but you can have more enjoyment. You have much better scenery and less expenses, and you can enjoy more food, more activities, because all you had was $1,000. So, likewise, if you are working somewhere and you want to negotiate your salary, and you are going out, and you are really going hard with your HR and your boss, and you're looking for a salary increase. So, what is your bet now? What is your better alternate? Do you have another offer? If you have another offer, then you have a very solid bet now. And if you do not have another offer, and you may be, going hard, and you may be going with tactics, maybe you have some other techniques, your strategy, but your best strategy really is to create your BETNA if you don't have it. What is your better alternate than negotiable agreement? You know that you're making $100,000 and you want to negotiate 150, but you're only getting 110 from your current employment. And if you are really pushing them hard and you believe your value is 150, then you better have another offer in your hand before you make those hard choices or uh, hard demands. So why am I giving all this background is because I want you to understand that how does that imply with what's going on with Trump and Iran negotiation and the war and all that. See, Trump, like I said before, I met Trump, I don't know, somewhere around 20 plus years ago at the JFK airport when he was going with his with his helicopter pilot, and they were having discussions. Usual Trump was talking, was busy walking, and then we were going to elevator together. So we shared the same elevator, and I saw. I mean, Trump does listen to a reason as well, but he is always throwing tactics because in his mind he believed that he is the best negotiator, and his negotiation of his entire life is all based on tactics. Whether you threat somebody, or you oblige somebody, or you use power, so these are all very tactical things, and he's conducting this entire thing between Iran and US in a very very tactical way. He's sending very tactical people over there, and if there is any strategic person like JD Vance, unfortunately JD Vance is not able to make all the decisions. And then he has Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, and also Marco Rubio. Everybody have their vested interest, and these are all very very tactical people. However, I would say among all of them, JD Vance is probably the most strategic, and Marco is definitely again is using his own tactics. So the thing is, you need all those in conducting business, and you need more. And what more we need? Remember, we talked about that we need strategic thinker and we need technical thinkers, so they can analyze and have a long-term plan and look at that it's not just short-term and tactical approach, but it's a long-term and technical approach based on technical analysis. So if you really want to understand more on the technical side and strategic side, which is missing, then please watch my previous talks, podcasts. Also, there are some YouTube videos I have, but I would really say that now we are taking that into the next level. that how is Trump really doing this? Why is he going up and down? And one day he's saying we're going to have a war, and the other day he's saying we're going to have peace. So why is that? Well, because Trump is very, tactical in nature, and maybe he believed that keeping these ins and outs, like he does this, keeping his ins and out, his whole body language, his whole way of talking, his whole persona is all tactics. It's all tactics. So he's so tactical that he doesn't even see or want to talk about strategic and technical sides. So, so how do we really sum up with Batna? We sum up with the Batna because he does not realize what is my long-term Batna, better alternate than negotiable agreement. So he goes out, have discussion with Iran because he's missing the long-term strategic and technical rationale. He basically doesn't even understand what his better alternate than negotiable agreement is. If if he really is strategic, and if he's thinking about, you know, Batna, then maybe his Batna thinking is again very tactical in nature. What it means is that he basically think that he can in get the more earnings this way, that the stock market has supposed to be keep moving back and forth, because when he does give 1 cent statement, the stock market goes up, the oil prices go down, and then he gives the other statement, then it goes other way around, and his friends and all of the investors are making money. And so he believed probably that maybe his strategy, that that's what he want to do, and that's what his legacy is going to be. He doesn't really care about the long-term legacy. He only care about short-term tactical money making, and his friends and allies making money, no matter what happens to poor people and what happens to economy in the long run, and what happens to sanctity and trust of this country, and long term standing of this country in the whole world. Look what's going on with China. Very long term strategic, uh, very, I'll say, very solid approach. Whereas, and they're not even talking, but look at, they are ahead of the game in all kind of industries, from chip industry to AI to satellites to, look at their car auto industry, look at their trains, look at even that they are making their own jets. So that's, and their war machine is also way out of the game. They're making, you know jets and fighter jets in coordination with many countries, including Pakistan, and they're making the, J-17 Thunder and other, in collaboration with Pakistan, in fraction of the cost, and they were able to defeat, French jets, and and some other very expensive technologies, in India Pakistan war. Uh, so the thing is, you know, America is lacking in their long term thinking, and and like I said, if we think he is strategic, and if he think his better alternate than negotiable agreement with Iran is basically not having the contract. If that is his alternate, then not having the contract, and then I can just keep going back and forth, then that is also very short thinking. That's not going to produce long term stability in the economy. Now, if he doesn't even know bad now, he doesn't have any bad now, then basically he is just keep going to do, this whole tactical negotiation, where he basically believe that he can just keep pounding and keep empowering, and one day he will get the resolution. Unfortunately, we just don't see this whole thing technically and strategically, because look at now from the Iran's perspective. If Iran really, understand the long-term game, strategic game, technical game, then they need to have their bet now. So what is their better alternate than negotiable agreement? So there was an MOU, and Trump wanted Iran to sign, but they did not sign. Why? Because they see their bet now. They know their alternate is they're not having the agreement. If they don't have the agreement, they will, have their integrity. They can also, you know, threaten the all the U.S. assets and all the allies' assets in the area. They actually can still sell through their corridors with Russia and China. They already done it. They survive, but then they can keep developing their technology. So if you believe that you're going to totally demo them, they know that's not going to happen, because if US right now, Iran wants US to send their troops, because if Iran does end up getting US troops, unfortunately they are very, very bad ramification for US. And then the US population is not gonna, the US population is already against this war. And if we send, can you imagine if we send our troops and we, God forbid, have thousands of deaths? This country is gonna go, you know, really berserk on Trump. So their Iran's bet now is that they have their corridors, they know how to live within means, they produce technology, pennies on the dollar, and even if they don't have a contract, they don't really die without the contract. But if they have the contract, then they want to have it's a solid executable contract which can be trusted. They don't want to have a situation where they just have a contract and within a month or 2 months or 3 months or 6 months the contract is breached, and nobody is abiding by it, and then that would be bad for Iran. So Iran has their bet now. Understand their bet now. Do we have, does US have our own BETNA, and do we even understand BETNA? And BETNA is only understood for long-term visionary strategic people who are analyzing the situation technically. I gave you example of some going for higher salary without really preparing and analyzing the situation, might end up be just losing one in the bush, one in the hand, because it didn't have anything else in the bushes. So basically, you think that I'm willing to, I'm willing to lose one in the hand, the job on hand, because I believe I have a value of $150,000 in my previous example, and I just go out and I have many jobs. You might not have it. So you better analyze it, technically prepare it, and strategically have the other offer before you negotiate further with your employer. So so if you want to really analyze and understand philosophy Trump's philosophy is that his bet is that he's going to keep going up and down, and that is actually helping his his friends and allies and his own conglomerate, where they are making money shorting. They're making money when things going down, and they're making money when stock market is going up. They make money both ways, and if and that is a very, very tactical approach, and that does not really give you a long-term BATNA to progress your economy, your country, and your standing in the world. You're losing your leadership. You may be winning the battle, but you lose the war. I mean, you are absolutely. If China keep you even busy, and we ourselves, we keep ourselves busy in these small, naive things, then we will not have our eyes on the big technology which is coming along. We will not have our eyes on, who are the big players coming, which economies are growing faster, and who's going to become the leader and going to be accepted as a leader of the world. I mean, think about it. If we continue our situation and we keep making ourselves laughing stock in especially in the Gulf, then all these Gulf countries who hired us to be a hired gun to protect themselves and have all these bases, now these bases, instead of protecting them, become the biggest threat for their economies. So then, why do you think they would want to have those bases? Because those bases for those countries are really, mines They are ready to be bust. And when those mines bust, their economies will be, basically destroyed. Why would they want to do that? So that's another bet now Iran has, and we don't have. So, like I said, if we want to really understand this entire game, then we need to understand how to set our betna. First, knowing the betna, and then setting the betna and having the betna. Because you may understand the betna, but then you may not prepare yourself to create better betna. So you better have the betna, uh, you know, before you keep going. Otherwise, unfortunately, you have no choice but really head to the wall, and that wall goes nowhere, and your economy tanks in the long run. Your people suffer. And I hope we use this analogy and understanding for our daily life as well as for our jobs and businesses and economy, that in every team and project level, we always need to analyze our situation technically, have a strategic plan, and develop our partner. May God bless you all, and happy 4th again. Thank you.